So it's we're starting a little bit late. It's about 7 after 10, but we had a good little chat that was going on here for those if you're interested in a motor scooter. But hey, let me just start with because we just passed the budget, and there's a couple of things in here that I want to make sure there's good visibility and transparency. And I'm actually really pleased with the outcome of our budget, because we every year we look at things that we need to fix, and every budget should identify some things that really need to be fixed. And when I look at this one, there are two things that we really made serious progress on. The first is we fixed the issue of police pay. For those who may not know, and people may on the internet or YouTube or Restream website, we've been behind relative to the area for officer pay, and I mean the guys out on the streets. And we had a survey, and it was actually a larger gap than people had perceived. And this budget directly changes that. It's costing the citizens about $120,000 more a year for that. But to me, I think that's a really good investment. Our police force has had some turnover because of pay and directly related to pay. And, one of the things I think makes Nassau Bay one of the really special places it is that we are a small town and we get to know each other. And that we put in a turnover of police means that people don't really get to know their police officer. And I think that's not a good thing. So we not only raised the salary for the new hires and the things, we actually lifted the whole salary curve. And the first recommendation that came from staff kind of got us into competitiveness for 2023, but council thought that there will be another round of increases. We didn't want to be behind. So we actually raised even from there, from what staff recommended, that we wanted to be competitive with increases this year, since the survey is always going to be 1 year behind. So we actually even upped it from there. And it'll represent a good $600 a month in additional after-tax pay for the police officers. And I think it puts us not at the top. What it does is, in the way I like to explain things from a company that had some really good training is that if you look at quintiles of where you're top quintile, we're probably in the second quintile and probably in the middle of that second quintile. We're not at the top, but we're definitely above many others. We're definitely above the average. And we also increased for new hires a hiring bonus, however you want to call it. We were already at 5,000, but almost everybody else in the Clear Lake area was at 10,000. There's even a couple that are even higher. You may know which ones those are. I forget. I don't know if it was League City and Webster, but they were bigger cities. The bigger cities, yeah. Pasadena.
They have to stay employed.
So correct, they do. So I feel really good about that. I've actually had a couple of the police officers actually come up to me and thank the council, because they have families themselves, and now I think they feel much better that they don't have to go somewhere else in order to take care of their family, that we are competitive and we are more than competitive. So again, that fixes that problem, and it was about $120,000, like I said. The other is, I think people have heard me say we kind of really moved almost all of our capital projects into the water and sewer fund, and we had raised rates there. Well, we looked at our fund going forward, and we came up with about $10 million of still remaining deferred maintenance that we needed to do to complete it, which is down substantially. Don't get me wrong. But we were able to put forward the funding where pretty much I'm just going to say 80-90% of it's done by the 2026, 2027 timeframe. These are big projects that done. So it'll mean the completion of all the bad water distribution lines that were outside their useful life. We've made tremendous progress. Like I've said in some other town hall meetings, and that we've replaced about 10 linear miles of underground piping, already, and we've gone from, like, just here, you had the numbers. We usually win 10, 12 breaks in the July, August timeframe. We've only had 2. So all that new repair and restoration has gotten his crews out of the, digging a broken pipe, putting a patch on it, and then covering up. And that just means they have more time to be able to do things that I think people really value, which is, you see, we've got tree trimming going on. We've got more stuff that's with the parks and that they can just direct their attention to that. So the reason I'm really proud of that is because in the 25 years I've been in and out of service for Nassau Bay, we've always had a bigger, we need to fix it capital project than we had with funds available. And after we complete this, we will be down to only like about $1 million or $2 million actual things that are on the list, and our budget will go in a very high surplus, so that if we wanted to do things like bulkheads, things like dredging Lake Nassau and really upgrading so we get rid of flooding in many different areas, upgrade the pumping systems on Upper Bay, and putting in that pipe to divert water to the Cow Bayou. Those are $1 million projects, $2 million projects, but they're no longer repair projects. We are enhancing our infrastructure based off building more capacity to do things. And those, I'm just talking about ones that would be on flooding. There could be other things on other areas that we will definitively go into a significant surplus position in that fund than things that we have to fix. And that's probably the biggest reason I ran, is I wanted to really fix things, fix the streets, fix the water systems, fix the sanitary sewer systems, fix just a lot of different things that had been deferred for, my belief, was too long. And I think we're at the cusp of being able to do that. The other thing you'll see is there's going to be another tranche of 2025 Majul palms up on Nass Road 1. We think we're just shy of where we think it needs to be. For those who remember, before the freeze and before the things along that line, there was 147 Majul palms up there. This will bring it up to about 75, 80. So it's right a little bit, just a hair more than about half. And it's primarily done on the east and west sides and in the center. And then we're thinking about what else to do. But I haven't heard anybody think that we need to spend another, $600,000 to put up another 80 things. We've done this over 3-4 years, so that's been helpful. So that's in the budget. And then we're also continuing with some of the other things, which is you're going to continue to see us focus on the north-south entryways. There's 5 significant ones, which is Nassau Bay Drive. It is Point Lookout. It's Upper Bay Road. It's Surf Court, and it's Bell Harbor. That we will continue to look at those entryways with the streets, the landscaping, just the overall upkeep and maintenance of those, so that it's to the standard that we want. And I'm trying to think of other things. Just with the parks, there's, if you look at around, the Parks Committee wants to put in a number of brand new trash cans. If you look at our trash cans and the trash can holders, picnic tables, things along that line, there's some that are in really bad shape. So we're gonna uplift that, and we're gonna be continuing to do the things to add ADA access to the parks and to the playgrounds. That's something else I'm really proud about. Is if you look at Swan Lagoon and you look at David Braun Parks, they had access for either children with disabilities or, and I'll say this is a big thing here for our city, is grandparents with disabilities that can bring and have access to playground equipment for either the children or for grandparents to have that and bring kids to the area. We have actual ADA equipment in Swan Lagoon, and this budget will also put some ADA equipment, playground equipment in David Braun. So we're going to continue to do that. What am I missing?
A few things. Go over National Night Out. October 1. Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking on the budget.
On the budget. Oh, okay. Just budget related items.
The water tower.
The water tower. We're hoping to start getting advertisement and bids out for that. We'll probably get that around February to start construction or painting, and that's going to be the inside and outside of the tower paint. It was also recommended that we put something like City of Nassau Bay on it or something. So we'll be looking at that also.
Just to be clear, there's people. The reason we're painting it is not the aesthetics on the outside, because it'll still look pretty well. We've deferred about, this will be the third year if we didn't do it, the inside, and the inside is the coatings. That's all where the structure, that's where all the water quality, that's all there. So if that lining and that goes beyond, you can end up having either real problems with the structure of the tower or real problems with water quality and things along that line. So we are doing the preventative maintenance in order to make sure we keep it up. That tower, if we were to replace it, would be what, $2.5–3 million, in that ballpark. So we're wanting to make sure we keep up with the maintenance.
The water line project the mayor was talking about, it should kick off beginning of the year. Also, the end of the year, we should start seeing construction on the new water line from Saturn to the Hilton, and that's right about $1 million, including the header for the water plant. We'll get more pressure out of the system, and that's good for the ISO rating. And then also on some other things that we're working on installing, I think it's either 5 or 7 Florida palms on Nassau Bay Drive, right there with kind of dead area. We're going to put some palm trees there. 3 around David Braun Park on the Martinique side. We lost those to some lightning here about a year ago. So we're trying to do things to make the city look good. We had we met with the Garden Club Tuesday, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. Really good. Yeah, really good things coming up. So pretty excited about that. Tree trimming continues Monday through Thursday. We have a dedicated crew, and they're on Monday through Wednesday, they're working around the city, and then on Thursdays, they're at the parks. So you're starting to see, I went by Upper Bay actually this morning, and you're starting to see on the Upper Bay side, they're starting to lift that canopy up. So, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So the tree trimming, I remember bringing this up about a year ago. I went and talked to Kathy about it. And, at the time, what is the responsibility of the homeowners as far as the distance from the curb? Like, is anything beyond the 15-foot easement our responsibility to trim? I've even had some of them hit the top of my Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Beetle.
Correct.
So our responsibility is from the curb to the curb, straight up.
Okay.
And so we don't like to
Access
get,
to the road.
we don't like to get on the private property at all. So we just want to make sure our fire trucks and everything can get under there. So
we're trying though to make sure that, we want to give the look where the trees kind of put a tunnel look in the ones that are very mature on both sides. We're getting that, so we're trying to do that. We're trying to not do just
I saw the ones outside
flat plane.
Public Works.
Yeah.
That they were working there, and they were trying to do that.
Yeah.
So how long of a project do you think that's going to be?
Oh,
It's going to be a long time from what I saw.
well,
No question.
we've got a map that we're keeping up with at everything that, I'd say probably maybe to the end of the year.
I think so.
We'll still
I
be
would
trimming.
not even longer.
And we're just,
they're dedicated.
yeah, they're just dedicated.
So it's not
It's
like
part-time work.
Yeah, we've
It's
got
part-time
a
work.
crew, a tree crew, and again, it's something which has been deferred, and because of some of the things we've done financially, we now have the funds by which to do it. Trees have not been trimmed in
And that's why I thought it was the responsibility of the homeowner to do some of it.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Kathy, one of my suggestions had been is to make a list of vetted tree trimmers. And if, like maybe contact one of them and say, hey, if you come through here, here's a list, and people can sign up for it or not sign up. It's not going to be any extra work. It's just going to say, we vetted this tree trimmer. They're going to give us a break for coming in if you do and sign up. Because we would be more than happy not to have the city do it.
Yeah. I mean, my view is, and it's not the law, but we have easements to 10 feet into the yards. And to me, if you really want, as long as we do it right, and there's a lot of green in between that our definition is, I'd like to see us trim, and make sure within 10 feet so that we have really manicured trees that stay out of the streets, but yet still do the aesthetic manicured look. And that's not the case now. I would say there's probably about a 50-50 split because people, I don't think people really want to have the city on their property doing things, or they may have a look that they want to have.
And that's why I can see the city being responsible for what's over the curb.
Yeah. Correct.
But to have something for the homeowners who want them to come in and trim their trees, because right now it's almost impossible.
Like here, and we're going to take care of it because it's threatening some infrastructure. If you look at Upper Bay Road and Back Bay on the southern corner on Back Bay, there's a baby tree that's growing there right in a utility box, right? And it's now getting slightly past what I'd call being a sapling. It's now. So, because that's right there and it's right by utility things, it's still on somebody's private property, but it's an easement, and it's a utility easement, and we're making sure that utilities are just the same way as between Point Lookout and Martinique, the back, we've got a drainage ditch through there. We trim back there to make sure that's clean, because that's a major water, outlet to Lake Nassau during big rain events to keep the rest of Nassau Bay from flooding.
The other thing that I've noticed, especially on our corner, which is Point Lookout, right on Antigua, left on David. So it's where they split.
Yeah.
That street light there, because the trees are so overgrown, these new lights that are so much taller than the city lights, I can't see around the corner. I have to put my high beams on to turn around the corner. And I thought, okay, not only is it just what's hanging on the street, but what is noticed. So if I try and walk at night, I look, and those lights could light up to 5 houses on either side. That one doesn't light up but the spot immediately below it.
Yeah.
And that had been a really big concern. It's like, why do we even have the lights?
So coming back to the, I'm with Paul. We're going to do this until we get through, because right now it's anytime you defer maintenance, you have to have a project to get it back up, and then it's ongoing maintenance after that. So we're in project mode right now. Because if you look at what we're doing, we're taking away quite a few things to raise umbrellas, because I hate the aesthetic of the Amazon tree trimming, project. You've got this box that goes through, and I think we can do better as a city, and that's where we've now really got a dedicated crew to do that.
And we've got all the oaks on Mouse Road 1, 2, both sides. So there's a lot of trees there. We have tons of trees.
Bless her heart, Barbara Gilbertson. I know you're in the next world, but she planted some, and I love it. 300, 400 oak trees around our city, which now look great. They started about 25 years ago, but now we have to maintain them, and we haven't been. Now that they are trees rather than saplings, we have to maintain them, and that's why we have Nassau Bay has a very unique look in regards to its oaks and its trees. We have mature trees like many do not. Most have the pine trees rather than oak and palm trees. So we have a very upscale look that I'm really proud of. And Barbara was a big reason for that.
Well, going back to the pipe replacement, I think ours is one of the streets that has not been done, because I think that at least one of the breaks was on our street recently. So is there a list, when you said that they're going to be doing the one to the Hilton, is there a list of priority of when they're going to do which ones?
Yes,
let me,
ma'am, yeah.
you'll talk about the other, but he mentioned an ISO rating, and I don't know if that really sunk in. That's what the insurance companies do. They rate and they come and audit us, and it rates our ability to protect private property because that's what insurance covers, and most of it is about your ability to fight a fire and how quickly you can fight a fire. And we have an ISO rating of 2, and for a volunteer fire department to have the second highest rating that you can have is just a testament to how good our volunteer fire. We have 42 people who volunteer, but because of all the home elevations that we've done, so that second stories are now 3 stories, single stories are now 2 stories. We've had like the Methodists put in their building. We've had Moody's put in there. The auditors cited that we have 2 things that is deficient that almost had us lose our ISO rating at 2. One was not having a ladder truck because of the heights and things like that, put our firemen in harm's way, as well as it doesn't allow them access, which means a fire would burn longer if we didn't have a ladder truck. And the other was there were several areas in our city where the water pressure was deficient. And I don't want to say it was, substandard. It was really just mediocre. And this header that Paul's putting in is directly addressing that. That's the main header that feeds into it from basically Saturn or Saturn Upper Bay Road all the way down to the Hilton. We're enlarging that line so more water can get into our grid. So the water pressure, even for things like your kitchen sink or your whatever, some people see that our water pressure is kind of just not as great as others. That'll all change, and it'll increase the pressure so that we have the flow of water as well as a ladder truck to be able to increase our rating back to what we historically had. And that's real important because if you go from an ISO rating of 2 to an ISO rating of 3, that's probably worth $300,000 to $400,000 as an aggregate community in higher insurance rates. So while that may not be a tax, that sure is to me like a tax if we're not doing our things right. And the only way we can get to a 1 would be to have a paid fire department. I got to give those guys credit. That we have, I believe, and it's just not opinion. I think it's fact that we have the best volunteer fire department in the region. And when I mean the region, like the Gulf Coast, it's very well known, very well respected, and to have 42 volunteers, to run a fire department is unheard of in today's world. So hats off to the leaders over there, which is Tom George and Matt Roper, all the guys over there really do a great job.
So when we do these projects, every water break is put on a map. And so whenever we start to do the engineering, it's a huge map and we see every area that had a water break. And so like some of the areas in Bal Harbor, it's newer, so they don't have that many breaks. So we're focusing on everyone that's had a water break, especially
useful.
Yeah. And especially the ones that's, we've had 2 or 3 on, Martinique. We know that's a hard hit area, Upper Bay. And so we're doing the same thing now with the street project. We have about 13 areas that during rain events, the guys go out and they're like, hey, this street is holding water. The day after, they're going back out, it's still holding water. So we have them areas on maps. So those,
that's a good point. That's what we missed was we've got about $500,000 for street repairs, which from our view is we will repair more than that breaks. So we're getting ahead of things. But coming back, there's the water pipes and the water breaking. I mentioned we had 10 linear miles done. Well, this come probably first quarter, the January, February timeframe, we'll be continuing to replace those lines, which is another 4 linear miles will be done, which means we've done 14 linear miles on a less than 2 square mile city underground pipe replacement, which is fantastic. That's once we get behind this, it's really going to make a difference on our budget.
And we're doing the same thing on the stormwater side. During rain events, if we notice something is not, a street is not draining, we'll go back and TV it. So we've identified actually 39 effluent storm lines coming out of the city. And out of that, now we're looking to see what's galvanized. And so we're going to start replacing that. So we've identified one on Space Park, I think behind the 2200 building. It's going to be pretty expensive. We're fixing to do a huge repair on Point Lookout. And I think it's Davon. And then we're going to TV every single 39 areas. And we stick a camera up in there. Anything that's galvanized, we're replacing. And, we have $300,000 set for side. We're going to blast through that in the first 2 or 3 repairs. But that's something that we want to continue on and just have that 300 every year just to look at effluent pipes, because all these pipes were put in a long time ago were old galvanized, and it's gone now. So now they're just
I know at
collapsing.
our corner of Antigua and Devon, it was bad. You couldn't get there. You had to go around the block, and so it was just as it was draining towards that corner. It has gotten better, but I would stand up front, and ours is just around the curve, and so ours never flooded. Our house has never flooded, but next door, I've watched the water on the street on the 1-story houses go almost up to the steps.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And,
So there's 2 things that we're aware of, and they're big jobs, and we've got grants out for them. But there's the two things there is our lake. I mean, all that area drains to Lake Nassau. So 95% of any rain that hits the Nassau Bay goes into the lake. So 1 inch of rain does 3, almost 4 inches of headspace on the thing. So we can only fight the rain for about a 4-inch rain. Otherwise, we put our headboard goes up over a foot and a half. We want to dredge Lake Nassau as one of the big projects. We've actually, like I mentioned, there's a grant for first the engineering study to be done, which I think we're going to hear this month as to whether or not that was approved. It's a FEMA grant. Most of the engineering studies are granted, so we have a really strong view that we'll be able to have FEMA pay for the engineering study, and then after that, we'll be able to define exactly the cost of that. I mentioned that we go very long, so we probably, if FEMA doesn't give us a grant, we probably can self-finance that and be able to really address, because once you get the back pressure from all that drainage as it goes up, that directly relates to how well your area drains. And the other is there's actually 3 projects that we have in engineering, or grants for engineering studies. We want to put in a brand new line right there at Davon and take it to Cal Bayou and put it there, so we would actually intercept the water going to Lake Nassau and take it out to Cal Bayou. And that would do 2 things. It would, 1, do immediate and much faster drainage, and it could handle, because the capacity for it to move water will be tripled, doubled.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to get it out. But it also would take away the supply of water going into Lake Nassau too.
Yeah, because the area you're talking about, that I have a 24-inch line that actually comes and stops if you're looking at the center part of town, and then it comes down to Lake Nassau. So we want to extend that line out to Cal Bayou, and that's right about $800,000 to do that. $1 million project. Yeah, and then with the Lake Nassau, I can drop that 12 inches in 24 hours, and so and I have to be really careful because if
Shallow,
very shallow, it's about 2.5, 3 feet. And so if I drop it to like a foot and we don't get no rain, like if we would have dropped it during Hurricane Francine, we'd have a fish kill, and that would take 3 months.
An algae bloom.
Yeah, so getting it really deep, it's a lot better for us. We have a little bit more leeway to because it keeps me up at night. We're like, should we pump it down or should we wait? It's scary. Yeah.
Like 12 feet.
Yeah.
So that means we could move the headboard down 4 feet. right? And if we then also electrify with 480 power, we only have 220, 240 that goes out there. We can upgrade the pumps too. And that means we could probably fight a 9, 12-inch rain.
Most cities are just designed for a 2-inch rain. That's the standard.
We're like 3.5.
Yeah. And so we've been fighting this for a while. We've replaced most of all the pumps, added I think 2 new pump stations. But sometimes when we just get that rain, we're in a fishbowl. We're just like New Orleans.
Not only that is, and I think people have heard me say this, we have reaffirmed over and over again, one of our biggest problems is when power goes out, like you saw with Hurricane, I guess it was Beryl.
That was,
Or was it the one?
Beryl, had Upper Bay for
Upper
2
Bay.
days.
Yeah. So, I mean, we went out, we didn't have power. So we can't pump without power. We've got a generator at Point Lookout. Now we've got we're doing a test.
We got 3, we got that pump there.
So right there at Prince William. So there's that, but that's still, those are small relative to the overall need. And as you saw, if we're actively from our flood mitigation, we know we're deficient because we did a study back with Tropical Storm Allison. We really need to have our perimeter at 6 feet, all berms that's around there, so we can keep any water out. And if we had that, Beryl would not have put water in our fishbowl. We were in a fishbowl, so we've got to maintain that. And then the other is to make sure we've got the pumping capacity. So if there's falling rain, that's 9, 12 inches, even if we don't have a surge that goes over 6 feet, that we can keep all the water out. That's our battle. I mean, that's our battleground, and that's what these projects are for, so to be able to do just that.
First of all, I want to say I think it's fantastic that the police department got that raise. I think that's awesome.
Yep.
I think it was well needed, and I hope that it stems kind of the turnout for them, for sure. And I was just wondering if we looked into maybe making the salaries more competitive for the city employees kind of across the board as well.
We did that last year. We upped, if you look at it, I think it went up, what was it, 9% that we did last year.
I know Public Works was, I think, the year before.
Correct.
Year before
Correct.
Public Works. And then,
So we've done quite a bit.
yes.
We've done it one at a time
That was last
because that's
year,
what you can afford, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've actually done fairly well on that. And one of the things that I what bothered me is that the police force has for like 5 years just never been at full force. We've always had 1, a lot of times 2, and occasionally 3 spots open because of turnover, and directly related to pay. And if you look at the environment for people to choose that profession, there's quite a few less now than there were because of all the scrutiny and I mean, my hat's off to those guys. They, the position they put themselves in is a very difficult one, and they do it well. And having people know who our police officers are and have those people here makes a huge difference in our city.
That's been quite a change from, we moved here in '89, and you knew everybody.
Knew everybody.
Yeah.
And they knew your kids riding their bike.
Correct.
Everything. And then over 10, then I've worked at the hospital for 35 years and just retired. But I watched even the police were doing security work there. So you really got to know them. And then all of a sudden, who are these people?
Yeah, correct.
And one thing that we've noticed on the HR group, HR is really, the last few years have really come around. Their group meets, and when they said, they said, hey, we're doing a salary survey, the whole group is like, can we see it? So they're all engaged in what everyone is city's paying their employees. And kind of with the city managers group, same thing. When, we hear, police officers or public works starting to leave now, baby boomers starting to retire. It's a big concern. So we're like, okay, so, how are we going to hire some people, retain them, keep them? And so now the groups aren't just sitting around talking and having coffee. They're like, okay, this is coming down and we need to really jump ahead of it because it's a big concern. And the HR, I think the salary survey is almost probably constant now. It's just
Yeah.
changing, just changing with
And I agree.
everything.
I don't think
Yeah.
any resident here would mind seeing the money spent in those areas
Yeah,
because
correct.
we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave
I
here.
mean, if
Yeah.
you
I
look at
wanna
our,
make
and,
sure.
I said this, I'll say it again. The two basic reasons you have local government is for public safety and public health, right? And police officers staying here, having long tenure, knowing our citizens and knowing our city, just where things happen, is a fantastic, defense against, anything that would compromise public safety. Then public health, and I think y'all know we've got a battle going on with the Sapphire and what'll probably soon be the Bay House. So yeah, we've had a number of people complain and have been sick, and we've done actual tenant inspections and mold inspections, and the first group was nine
Not surprised.
folks that were there, and it came that those apartments were compromised. So we formally, communicated to the owners of the Sapphire that those 9 needed to be vacated and fixed. We then did another group of 14, which were about ready to communicate, where the mold specialist said that those need to be remediated also. And then Paul's organizing another group of probably at least 7 again. So we're going to have close to
Sorry to interrupt. How many units do they have?
248 we found through this. We thought it was more, Sarah. We thought it was like 350, but the owners corrected us and said it's 248.
Would that have been because of the fire years ago? when they
Correct.
Destroyed the front
It's
two?
probably the front one, if I remember. It was used to be A, B, and C building.
Yeah.
C building got consumed, and they knocked it down. And that was back, a while ago. They were supposed to build that up, but the owners took the insurance money, never built that. But now it's building 1 and building 2, and our inspections have not been in just one building. It's been primarily in building 2, but we've also had a significant number in building 1.
I'm not surprised.
And we're the more data we get, the more we believe it's a chronic problem rather than an acute apartment problem.
This
But
is
that's
just on
what
the
we
side,
did.
but I remember must have been with Ike, when the hospital, when we
Mhm.
had the ceiling just come down and we had a time limit to get the water
Correct.
out of there, the mold people
Yeah,
in,
correct.
and everything gone. Well, you can pretty well guarantee that has not happened. at those
The
places.
thing that bothered me more than anything else was there was a good portion of the apartments that had air conditioning, which was negative pressure, which means they were pulling more air out than they were putting in, which means everything from the outside coming in on the doors, coming in through the windows, coming in through there. It's like you have a vacuum in your apartment, which means you're getting all sorts of penetration, not getting any value whatsoever, and taking moisture out and doing anything like that. It's bad because that means it gets in between the walls.
Is it mostly the units along the water?
It
or
is not.
like all of
It is not. So we're looking at inspecting the chiller because we think it's ultimately there. That's the main problem, but it also would be the ductware. I mean,
Is it
to have.
just like one children? I don't really know.
It's 1 per
Well,
unit.
yeah.
One.
Yeah.
So what it is there's 1 chiller per building that sends cooling water throughout the things, and that goes through a coil, and then you have your own local control and temperature. So everything's about temperature control on that water.
And going back to budget, hats off to the directors this year. We knew that, we really had to prioritize PD, getting where they needed to be. So I think I gave up probably about 4 big projects, funding that I wanted to get. I know Tom did. And so we really put a lot of stuff back burner so PD could have the brunt of the money. And then, and it's tough because we know, Chief wants to make sure we get taken care of, but then we also want to be very supportive. We want to keep our officers and our employees.
Correct.
So everyone's sacrificed, and just we got to push out equipment one more year, or projects one more year, but it was well worth it. We're really happy. Staff's really happy.
We've got some good, like we're staggering our radio purchase. Those the communication radios are really expensive.
Yeah, we're about $700,000-$800,000
correct.
to replace all our radios.
We're trying to do 12 a year.
It's
that we
crazy.
do, so we always keep up, kind of like vehicles and stuff like that. But let me tell you some of the other side of it, because I believe in transparency. There will be a tax increase in this budget. But I believe because of the things we've done financially, it's a considerably small tax increase. It is 1 penny increase, which says for every $100,000 of value of your house, you will pay $10 more a year. So less than a buck. So if you have a $300,000 house, which is a lot of our median, means it's $3 a month more or $30 a year. And I really believe that how we've moved everything, a lot of the things off the general fund and into the water and sewer fund, that's created the ability to really have all of our property taxes go for the operation of the city, which is really what you want to have happen. Because that's what you as I call Joe and Josephine Nassau Bay, that's what your property taxes should go for, right? And then there's also going to be a water and sewer increase, but it's only for the very large commercial consumers. So everyone else anybody who does not consume 100,000 gallons a month will not see any rate change. So those are the biggest users, and I rationalize that. I think it's very appropriate because we are going through a massive change, updating and renovation or replacement of our water systems, and the size of those are directly related to the needs of like a hospital or like an apartment complex or a Chick-fil-A or things along that line. That it's not just the variable cost of the water, it's the fixed cost of replacing all that very expensive equipment that is beyond its useful life. And that means the more you have consumption, the more your proportion is for those fixed costs. And that's what we're doing. I think it's totally appropriate.
I just want to thank whoever it was that called and left a message on our phone a couple of months ago and said they just read the water meter and you used 26,000 gallons this month.
Yeah.
And we didn't fill our swimming pool. So
Yeah, the
we
leak.
searched around and we found right along the back fence was the sprinkler underground leak. And it was leaking at the back. The back neighbors didn't notice it because it's along their back fence. Yeah. But kudos to them for calling.
Yeah, our new software actually alerts us. You're in the parameter. If it goes past that, Robert. Robert.
It is. You can personally, can you get that app if your city is on it? Because I've heard that you can.
Go ahead.
All right.
I looked at the meter. I cleaned it off.
Thank you.
There's one thing. There's two tasks that I think are the least value-added tasks that a staff can do. The first one is manual reading of meters, water meters, right? And some say, well, why don't you read once a quarter or whatever? Well, if you have a leak, we won't know because you'll have 3 months of 26,000, or it could be as much as 50,000, depending on how big the leak is. We won't find it for 3 things. And then you end up with and this is true. We had somebody where we notified didn't go and check, and it was a $12,000 water bill. Now we help them a little bit and things like that, but the less you monitor, like once the more that can hit an individual citizen, which we don't want to do. So we're kind of stuck. There are smart meters, which has the app, which means in today's world, as Ralph, as you know, this is smart meters have been around for decades now, and we just have an old system of meters that were put in years ago. And we need to do that. Well, that project is $800,000, $900,000 to do every single one.
I'll go out and keep watching my meter then. I do it about once a week to see if it's how much.
But there's also a lot of advantages to that, which means for the city, when we have like a freeze, we can turn off with smart meters, vulnerable areas so that they don't don't have pipe burst problems. If you as citizens are like leaving, we have people who are retired who go to maybe, Colorado during the summer where the high peak for water and stuff like that, and have a vacation home or whatever, and they're gone for 3 months. You can turn your water off yourself as citizens. It's the app, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we want to do that, and that's in the budget for 2027, and
Okay.
we have the finance. We just want to get if you look at 2026, it is the peak year. We're really, we got, we something I've said, but it's the dollars are really hitting in 2026. They're replacing the whole exclusive water line on Highway 3 from the southeast water purification plant. That's costing this city $3.5 million because it's exclusively for us. But it's past its useful life. They've seen that the pressure on it has got the delta, which says it's got cracks. So they're replacing that whole line. And we don't run that project. They run it. They tell us what it costs, and we have to pay. It is part. Now we also, the advantage is we've got, we're one of the original founders of that plant, so we are guaranteed water. So we are if you notice, we didn't have to go through any water. With the droughts,
drought contingency.
Rationing, that's the word I was.
Yeah, we were the only city that. We were the only city that did.
We were the only city, and because we've done all this work on those 10 linear miles, our amount of loss has come down, and it's going to continue to come down. So we have surplus. We're even thinking that maybe we might sell some to Space Center Houston. I don't know. We're in a very advantageous position because of that. But again, now, water pipe has to be
here in
fixed.
27
Yeah.
and be able to take advantage. But in the meantime, I'll continue to monitor.
The other is having our city secretary have to transcribe verbal discussion on council to a written format. It takes hours to do that, and it's probably some of the most boring, tedious, but it's got to be right, and it takes time. Well, there's a lot of transcription, software out there. It's part of the budget. We're gonna replace this OWL. We're gonna upgrade, because at the end of the day, this digital, monitoring or digital communication is the way of the world. We're behind. We need to upgrade it, and we had done some attempts to do that. And we started with this, but I'm going to say it again. This but it's highly variable in its quality. It kind of sucks. You don't get the experience, and we don't have the tools to be able to make it easy to then put those discussions on the website, within 24 hours with transcription. And which we have transcription, that means you can find things, and that means the ability for the citizens to know what goes on. From a transparency, goes way up, and that's going to be that is the way of the world, and we're just behind, and we need to get that up.
Going back to the smart meters, during the last freeze, we had 67 residential breaks, so we had to shut off 67 meters, but it took us 45 minutes to an hour to jump around. So people's homes was.
So I have a question on that, and I went over to the city for that and asked that question. I bought one of those from the hardware store.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work for the darn.
Yeah.
So I talked to the city, and I said, how can we, if we see something, to be able to turn it off? And I was told that the city has, and they're super duper heavy.
Yeah.
You can't find one of those.
It weighs about 25 pounds. They're specially welded.
Yeah,
it's just the old valves.
Not only that,
Yeah.
those things have been in there for so long. You probably got to do 3 different applications of WD-40 to be able to unlock it.
I tried WD-40. I tried all kinds of stuff because I wanted to be able to do it in case, because if it is a freeze and something's going on, you don't want to be the 67th person
right.
on the list. And I just thought, well,
or to have it go an hour longer than you could.
Yes.
See, and the old valves are a one-way valve, and so if you go this way and you snap it, that means we have to shut down the entire street. Right. And so it's a mess. I probably lost a few guys.
We scoped this out, and we've had other priorities because, I mean, at the end of the day, we also have to do a financial test. The payback is really, in hours, not spent is not that great. You get these extra, benefits to be able to turn off water quickly, be able to do the things that really make the difference. But, when I look at $300,000 of insurance, costs or, streets that are failing and things it's always come in front of this. But that's what I'm saying. That's no longer going to get deferred. We have the finances and it'll be done in probably early 2027.
Because 1 week a month, I lose 6 guys to read meters.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Oh, I watch it. And
Yeah,
I just
that's
It's
all
nuts.
they do.
It's
Ants are
And bless
jumping
their
on
heart
them.
for
Oh
doing
yeah.
it. It's got to be
the
like
most
a
boring.
punishment to go
Yeah,
have to
it
do
is.
that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they got to take the water out of it.
Ants, snakes. Yeah. It's nasty.
Yeah, but that's
Sorry,
reality.
mean with me here.
That's
No,
reality.
Yeah.
that was very interesting.
But there's a lot going on right now, and I think our city shows because of it. So I'm pleased with the direction, and like I said, I'm really pleased about the police officers and fixing that. That's again, we should be doing something better each year, and that's what we're doing.
Well, I have a main purpose of why I came here. So whenever you finish with everything, I
We're
want
done.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not-
So, as you've already alluded to, we have an aging population here. Some of the original residents, some are moving away, some die. There's several ladies in our area that have lost their significant other or their husband, gone to live where their children are, and moved back because it's not always great to be where whatever state your kid is in because they've got their own life. And one of them in particular said to me she was lonelier being there than she was being here by herself, which got me thinking at the hospital with employees, if they don't show up, we have a wellness check. So I got thinking, well, what would help? Our next door neighbor was an example. Her daughter called the neighbor across the street because she hadn't been able to get in touch with her mom for over a day. And the daughter lived in Austin. So that neighbor called me. I wasn't in the position, so we had to call another neighbor to go in and check, and she was dead. And she'd been there this is a year ago. So as I'm aging, I'm thinking, what's going to happen? Do I want to stay here? There's no retirement, like a senior over 55, which I would love. And I know there had been discussion about that years ago. But anyway, so I went and talked to Kathy the other day, and I said, who should I talk to for what's in my head? Because I can't really articulate it that well. And she says, go to this. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely. You're not the only one who has said that.
So then I went, and I also, Troy says, go talk to John at Java Owl. Now, Rick Murphy was one that a year ago, before Rick passed away, he says, this sounds like a really good idea. Go talk to John. So finally, yesterday I did. And to me, it's like a community board, a community communication board, a wellness check, whatever. I'm not talking about going in and seeing if they're okay, but it's just if somebody hasn't checked in for a day and you don't have a neighbor that's really
We don't have anything organized from at least the city at this point
So what I
to
thought
be able to
about,
do that. I mean, you're right. It's a gap.
yeah, how can we, and we've lost a lot of the community feel. And one of the things that, although it's nice to see Massive Road 1 develop, it's taken it out of the heart of the city and moved it into a high traffic area. So Starbucks doesn't have the old guy sitting there talking every morning. They're now Java Owl. So that's what John was saying, that yes, more community people are coming there and he's open to just about anything. And I'm thinking, well, why can't we have a check-in? And it wouldn't have to be the city, but it could be something that is secure. It would be even a spreadsheet, or if anybody's got any ideas where people who want to sign up, who are either living alone or have concerns or have a significant other who's in a wheelchair and they need help. But just have it and they can check off that, yeah, this morning I checked in and I'm fine. And if you haven't checked in by 10 o'clock, your buddy who has signed up to be your buddy or somebody else in the street can just go and run by and see if you're okay. So it doesn't have to be the city's responsibility, but have somebody who has some security that people would trust.
We have, I mean, just to give you an analogy, I mean, you look at the special events committee is responsible for events in our parks for certain, things. We've got, a group of parks and recreation. We've got people who are on the planning commission. We've got people who are on the EDC. We've got people who are now we've got a maritime safety committee. Why wouldn't we do something similar for something like
A
this?
community, yeah, and we don't have.
Even though it'd be a city, so we could spend, because part of that is you got to maintain a database or
Right.
something like that, so that if people
Finding out if
volunteer,
there's like-minded people
correct.
to go in and take care of this, but the owner would be somebody who is secure, which would be everybody would
I mean,
trust the city.
the garden club welcomes everybody in. So I mean, why wouldn't we have something that would, make sure, you're taken care of before you leave this world?
Right, and that's one of my concerns. I have one child. My husband just turned 80. I don't want to follow my child around and have him feel responsible for checking in on me. Although I know he would at this point. He's still in grad school, so he lives in Pearland. But who knows where he's going to be a couple of years from now?
Yeah.
And so I got thinking, I want to stay here, or do I start looking for places so that when it happens, I'm not caught off guard?
Yeah.
So John said he would do anything to help. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go talk to Ellen and John Milstead. They're neighbors of mine. Because I know that they're very community minded and want to try and do
They're
something.
Irma owners.
Right. And then I talked to a friend of mine in Canada who lives in an apartment, now condo. And she says, oh, well, we have the buddy system here. I said, okay, tell me about this. And it's exactly what I was talking about, that they sign up on a list within their condo association. They become a buddy. And if they haven't seen somebody, or they'll give them a call and say, hey, I haven't seen you in the hall, or there's some indication I'm not well, but I don't know who to contact.
I think that, just I support what you're saying, because a lot of people know my mother-in-law lives with us. She's got mobility issues, so when we leave, we have to work how she gets checked up on, things along that line.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, just from what you're saying, we're not alone. You're not alone. A lot of things here. There's a lot to be said here.
But my mom lived in what's now the Arrow Apartments for years and years and years, and then moved in with us.
What were they called before? Somebody asked me, and I used to know. Is it something Village? Is it
Nassau Bay Village?
I think it was Nassau Bay Village.
That's what it was.
I think it was.
With Marion as the
correct. They did a fantastic job.
She would have
She maintained those. Yeah.
It's funny that you said that, because me and the public works guys were talking before COVID. We always noticed 5 to 7 groups of our elderly residents was always walking around the city. And then after COVID, we didn't hardly see any.
Well,
and
I started asking John. I said the group of men that used to meet at Starbucks, and I said I got to know them from just driving through. And I said, how about the guy that rides the bike? He said, he died.
He did.
And then Rick Kirby just died. And I'm thinking, okay, you don't know whether somebody's still alive.
Yeah, also a lot of people.
Or whether they're housebound, or whether like me, although I am now volunteering at Space Center Houston, I get in the house and it's like, where do I go? What do I do?
We just had some demographic. 55% of our residents are over 65.
Yeah, it's time,
and that's a low number.
It's time to keep them here. And the only thing that would make me leave is because I need to know that I've got support. And it doesn't have to be my son. It doesn't have to be somebody that comes in and checks on me every day. But just to know that I'm alive.
Yeah, good comment.
So I'm willing to do whatever. Having retired in January, I want to stay active, and I want to do something constructive and something worthwhile for the community.
Yeah. Well said.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
My mom also lives in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I think to your credit, what you're saying is that it needs to be a central person, because what we don't want to do is release a list of all the most vulnerable people in the neighborhood.
Correct. That's why I kind of like it with the city. I was thinking, I didn't want to mention that.
Somebody could, people could build an app, right, where you just, it beeps and they check in or they don't.
Yeah. One of the things Troy mentioned was the elderly, and I looked at him and said, Troy, I'm 73.
So this is funny because I was
Not using the phone.
going to tell Paul I had a company that is a app aggregator that allows you to sign up where your information in total does not get disclosed. So all you have is your email, and you can then check in without PIA.
Well, like my mom wouldn't remember to check in. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But for, watch beeps.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing, brainstorming to see, does anybody know what's out there? Does anybody, Is there something that already exists? I don't know. I
There's
just
not,
started-
we don't have when I mean infrastructure, we don't have the coordination and the roles and responsibility. That does take, you gotta have somebody keep up with that.
And right, but in the background, have independent of that, the list of the contact, their phone number, something.
Correct.
But just last year, we had a 50-plus-year-old employee. She wasn't that old, didn't show up for work on a Monday morning. So her boss sent somebody out to do a wellness check, and she was dead.
Mhm.
And her daughter had been there the night before. And it was just like, wow, it just really hits home, especially when you're in healthcare and you start to find out all these people that have gone.
Let alone if somebody has a stroke or something like that, they're just there and they're needing medical care or something like
And that, I know that those devices that you can get help by falling in, that's fine. But again, that is a very impersonal one and you pay for it.
Yeah.
But
That's a
we're
good
too
point.
small of a community
Yeah,
not
correct.
to have something
Yeah.
for people who want to participate. And if they don't, they don't.
They don't, they're correct. Completely agree.
But I definitely want to.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
So
you
I
for
will
that.
do anything. I'll give you my name and
Okay,
number.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
And, if, like Kathy said, she'll put something in the paper or have something put in to say, hey, we're
Yeah,
whatever, just to say, hey, let's brainstorm.
let me look around other cities and see
Gotta
maybe
be.
there's some,
We
there has
don't
to
have
be something.
reinvent
Yeah.
the wheel.
Yeah.
This
There's
is not that
probably
hard.
like senior retirement, like the villages in Florida.
You
There's
know,
major
I
communities.
I also wonder if this is, because the garden club does a lot of stuff for people welcoming. There may be an infrastructure for them just to add on to that.
Yeah.
Does everybody yet call it garden club?
I know garden worth a darn, so I've never contacted. Are you in the garden club?
Yes.
Oh my God. No, I can barely.
Aren't you
grow
the
trees.
aren't you the co-president or something?
I
That's not fair. I'm sorry. That was-
No, I think we have a deal where if someone gets sick, we send them a card.
Yeah, I know.
And in fact, I just found out yesterday. Yours is-
I heard.
Yeah.
I heard she
Yeah.
her lift failed. I don't know if she the actual floor fell one story or two. I'm hearing two.
I think it's too because the.
'Cause she has a
middle story's been
3-story.
worked on,
Correct.
So they were living on.
And
the
and she was inside the lift and it broke both her ankles at the
She's
femur.
very lucky.
Royce?
Yeah, Royce.
Yeah.
This happened
Wow.
yesterday or the night
The
before.
night
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's horrible.
So there
Okay.
was an informal, communication that went through.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
a lot of it was
Mm.
Yeah,
garden
we
club.
were going down to Houston and I said, someone said something about Royce. I said, what, is she okay?
Yeah, she's
We
she's
started
at
sending
wow.
texts.
she's at Methodist.
Oh.
Yeah.
And she's there. She can't walk. I mean,
Mm.
Well,
How horrible is that?
terrible. It's going to be a while because that's
that brings up another thought is I do hiking and I bought an RV, so I'm wanting to travel. My husband would prefer to go to the boat, which is fine. So I'm doing a lot of these events that are women only, Sisters on the Fly. But what I took with me instead of the 360 or whatever it is, the tracking that people can do to tell where you are, found a personal device that they use on sailboats.
Mhm.
And it's the size of a cell phone. You clip it to yourself and you go through the NOAA and you register
Yeah.
your device,
So
but
it's-
it's a personal one.
Yeah, so it's a satellite connection.
Yes, and wherever so whenever I'm out by myself now, I've always got that on. I have two people look at me like you're nuts. No, you push the button, put the antenna up, push the button, it goes to satellite, and it pinpoints exactly and dispenses emergency personnel.
Yeah.
A lot of the women on the Sisters on the Fly, they said, wow, what a good idea, because they could be
It is.
traveling 5-6 hours.
What's
Yeah.
amazing is your cell phone, the accuracy where they can have, find you based on your cell phone now, it's just amazing.
It is, but then there's places like being in the desert.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I've
You
many
got to have
places.
connection.
I put a cell phone booster in the
Satellites
RV,
everywhere,
and the satellite is
particularly for sailing.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, but if you misuse it, you're fined by the government.
Yeah.
And you have to register it.
How would you misuse it? Not to go off
Pushing
track.
it if you, I lost my dog, or, if
Oh.
you're out and you didn't have a true emergency where it was life threatening.
Oh yeah,
There's
sure.
very specific
Sure.
guidelines.
Yeah.
It's like being at sea.
The new iPhones have this deal where if you're out, and I used to be out in the desert for a little while of my life, where you can't get a signal and you're calling 911, an arrow will come up to show you where to point it to the satellite. It's just for 911.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why I really want saving my money, my pennies, so I can buy a new one. Because I
Yeah.
think
That's
so
a great,
interesting.
yeah, it is.
But you
It
just
is.
you just follow the arrow, and it's supposed to hook you up. And it's only for 911. You can't use
Yeah.
it for anything else.
Interesting.
That's good to know.
And I use, of course, I wear an iWatch so that
But so does my daughter. She has it set up. She lives in downtown Houston, and she just wants people, in case she's out walking the dogs at night. She wants to let people know where
if you
she's at.
fall, that I had it for my dad. If he fell, that it would.
I wish my mother-in-law would wear it. She will not. So
She won't wear it.
You know what I'm talking about.
Force her to wear it. I get used to it.
When you get
Go.
older,
Tell me how that's working out for you.
you get something on
Tell me how
your
that's
wrist.
working out for you.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
No, I can't.
I
It
have
hits
a
the
brother that I
bones.
say,
Yeah.
I have to take my watch off
That's
all the time
she will
because
not do it.
and because it has to be tight to
Remember
a certain.
Yeah. You've been pretty quiet, Rob. What about you? Anything?
We're looking good.
Yeah.
You're looking good over there. Good.
I have something I want to bring up.
Well, he's
Yeah.
retired now. You don't.
Yeah.
But he, if you ever have any questions about Harris County Flood District and flooding and the things here, that man has forgotten more than the combined knowledge up here.
it's 14 feet the cutoff
Which is
for
not much.
the,
It's
14 feet
Yeah.
for the elevation.
No, it's for us is now that it's been updated 17.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Mhm.
17, and the city does 17 plus 2.
No, we've never flooded. We're at 12'7",
Yeah,
but
12 is a pretty good number. It's
Yeah.
Things are really
insurance is starting to go up, and then
Yeah.
in the zone they put us in back
A lot
there.
of-
But we build a house down on the water.
so just if you look at it from, and I'll just use Ike, there's a lot of the homes that are
Ours didn't flood, but our bricks leaked in the new
Yeah.
house, the whole
And-
side of it.
And when we were at Back Bay, we had the original elevation survey for the house, which was like 12 feet 4 inches, and when we did ours, it was 8 foot 2 inches. So there was over 4 feet of subsidence happened.
Wow.
4 feet, which is another reason why our infrastructure is so taxed and we've had replacements because everything's sunk 4 feet. If you look at many of our storm sewers are all gravity for going to lake and things like that. So being 4 feet down means some of them are in the water.
Mhm. Well, thank you.
And that has its own issues. So
I may come to more of these.
I like these because it allows a free flow of questions and discussion. It goes to where people's interests are. And we find out so much stuff. I think this is kind of like helps us with the eyes and ears of the city. So,
Bring your scooter next time.
I just got
I was
my
gonna
bag.
ride mine.
there you go.
Okay, that's
All
all I
right.
have, man.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, excuse me, I was weeding over in Swan Lagoon garden. And I saw that y'all put a new sidewalk in there, which
We did.
Wonderful. What I don't like about it, and I don't mean this, I know it's gonna step on a lot of toes, but I like golf carts, just as I play golf, I like golf carts. But that has become a road for golf carts, because golf carts aren't gonna be allowed on that.
Yeah, that's the ADA portion of it, that people who have mobility issues.
I understand
Yeah,
that, and I
so-
don't,
But you're saying it may be overused is what people
yeah,
come through.
I understand, motorized wheelchairs coming on there. I don't understand the need for golf carts, that road is like just a foot or two from the playground area on both sides.
Mhm.
And so I don't know that 1,000-pound golf cart running through there is a good idea.
We particularly engineered it with steel reinforced concrete. So that's there, but it's,
But I'm talking
this
about
is a
the chil-
balance.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about the children that are going to be playing there,
yeah.
who are going to actually run out into that road.
So
And so I
I hear you.
just think it should be looked at.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
all.
that's eyes wide open. This is the balance we're trying to do. Is there are a number of grandparents who have motion challenges, mobility issues.
Is the
And-
width of a golf cart and the width of a wheelchair, has anybody determined, so you can put those posts
So-
and allow a,
So what we've done is just let me tell you the
But I see
criteria
that
we
you're
use.
allowing people who are not so mobile,
Correct.
the older people,
We-
to bring their kids.
Correct.
That's what you.
That's
So are they going to stop the?
so we haven't
Right
painted
there?
that road. We just
No,
got it here.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so,
it's
what
not
what
done.
we're one we're going to put signage up around the things here, but we haven't painted the that walkway yet because the definition is we wanted to be able to have a golf cart on there to allow people with mobility issues access, but also have a pedestrian area so that we demarcate who's on what side to make sure of that.
Okay, and
So-
will you have the pedestrian thing this time going toward the motorized traffic?
Yeah, so I mean, to me, is you'd have the pedestrian on the side where the playground equipment is, so that you
It's
there.
on both sides.
It is, I guess, if you look at it as, but where the mobility challenge is on, yeah, I would say on
I
that,
just, and I know it's a tough
Yeah.
problem, and I can see,
maybe we
why?
need some ballards there or something to make sure they stay.
Yeah, we could do. I would.
Take a look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I would
it's a
definitely.
challenge. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to have access for ADA, it means you need to have people who have the ability for
motorized wheelchairs, I have no problem
Yeah.
with that at all. What I have the problem with is golf carts
Yeah,
coming,
but it's usually
invading our
people with
parks.
golf carts that are taking people with
And
issues. to
that
the-
may be
Yeah,
it, but
that's
I
the
think-
issue.
I think that, in order to promote a good lifestyle, our sidewalks, which we have very few
We
of,
have very few.
need to be clear of as much motorized traffic as we can
Yeah.
keep off of it.
Yeah.
And I worry, of course, I walk David Braun Park,
Mhm.
Mm.
and I was confronted with a golf cart which barely fit on the sidewalk behind the dog park there. And
There should be right
There's-
there unless they
yeah.
took that fork.
Unless they took that
That
to the
fork.
right. To the
Correct,
right.
to the
yeah.
right. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
okay, so are golf carts allowed back on that sidewalk down by the creek?
Yeah, no, if you look at it, there's if you go by, okay, where there's the turnaround but in front of, right beside the bathrooms, right?
Right.
Right? If you come over there towards the animal shelter side, there is a widened path to allow
Right, and I
access
understand
that goes all the way to the ballpark
Right.
and then comes and would go right beside the pickleball
Right,
pickleball
right.
court,
And then
which
pavilion
are under
come
maintenance
out.
Oh, I
right now.
understand.
Yeah.
all
That's
that.
the only
Yeah.
place that they should have
Okay.
golf carts.
Yeah.
That
They're
is
the
not
only
where
ones
I'm-
that are
that
allowed.
is not where I'm talking about.
I know, so that's illegal. It's already,
That's right. And
so that's illegal.
and I want a sign put up,
There should be
saying
already
there
one,
is
but,
not a sign
yeah,
there.
okay.
I'll take a
I'll
look
read
at
it again. I may not have.
It's
read it.
probably on the very
It's not a
front.
sign, but it's like there's a painted section.
There's a
Golf
paint,
There
there's
is.
a yellow
There is.
line.
But there's also
That's it.
some
There's not a
signage
sign
that
that
says,
Don't go
yeah,
farther.
but that's
Okay.
that was specifically for ADA access.
Oh, I understand
And
that.
the other one, so like if you look at the whole perimeter where we have the the black solar lights that don't work, which we're going to replace this
Right.
year. And I know I opened a can of worms. He said I did it on
That was
purpose.
hysterical, that whole project.
But you know, coming around there all along the perimeter are non-ADA, you know, how should I say, expanded. You know, it's not meant for, yeah, not accessible.
Yeah.
Better way to say it.
And
not
I have a
accessible
golf cart, and I did go around there, and I was asking Troy the other day, I said, are they allowed down there?
No.
And he says, well, believe me, people do go past the dog park, the dog.
I've seen people with cars
Animal
out there,
shelter.
which is really,
And he says it gets the
Yeah.
dogs barking and just going off the
Yeah.
deep end.
Yeah.
But it was, and I was reading the sign that goes to the bridge that way. It says no golf carts, no electric, blah, blah, blah. But then that was it. So
Yeah.
I didn't even take a chance to, and started.
but yeah, we wanted to be able to have people have access to, you know, the broadest amount, but restrain it because this is not a new discussion.
I'm sure it's
It's not a new discussion, and there are people who think all around, you know, and we're trying to make a balance.
Well,
which-
and we have so few for people who walk like I do. I power walk, and I don't want to be interrupted by anyone.
Yeah.
You know, I stick to my side of the sidewalk, and I don't want some golf cart coming
Yeah.
up there, and I'm not going to
And
budge for
we're
it.
right, and I'll use the analogy
How
here
about
is
bicycles?
I have a
Bicycles
lot
are
of
allowed there.
I have a lot of empathy for the ADA challenge because like it has not been a focus of the city, and even the front doors to this building, you know, if you look at it, we now have the buttons. We didn't have that like 6-9 months
And
ago.
I do too. And if
And
a motorized wheelchair,
I had a
think
lady just rip me up one side or the other because she was in a wheelchair and could not get in this building and wanted to be here to be part of the city council. So this building, how did you build it without being ADA?
Yeah.
And so we immediately did it because we, you know,
Well,
that's the
ADA
law.
is a big thing.
It's a
And-
big thing.
And I think that it's appropriate for a motorized wheelchair to go along a sidewalk. I think that's
Yeah.
entirely appropriate. And we allow bicycles there. Therefore, because you allow bicycles in Texas, you have to allow e-bikes too. The only way to
Yeah.
That I
prevent
don't
e-bikes is not.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, if
it
somebody
is-
wants
it's
to
very
do,
tough.
But I
But
mean-
but bicycles are allowed. down
again,
there.
we talked, I mean, we talked about this in several things is most people have golf carts, but most people don't have motorized wheelchairs. So if you do it, say only motorized wheelchairs, you'll restrict probably 90% of the people who have ADA challenges from getting in the park.
Well,
Yeah.
they have access to the park,
Yeah.
you know, the main part of it. It's just that sidewalk, you have, I think that to promote a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah,
you have to get away from the golf
should.
carts at some point
yeah, you do.
and just say, this is for pedestrians and bikes.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about two different people, because I don't think anybody driving their golf cart down by the water has an ADA problem.
They really don't.
I
You're-
think
you're
they're just cruising by.
They're,
the
Yeah.
water.
you're absolutely right.
Well, and
I think that they
sometimes,
just need to have
Yeah.
access to the ballpark. and they need to have
The only
access-
places where I see where is the playground equipment areas.
Yes.
And I mean that in either park. If you go to any other areas around that, those are people who are picnicking. There's people out there on the, you know, on the water. Like I say, is if you go, you know, if you take that right path and go down and go around the perimeter where there's that walkway, it's a really nice walkway.
Mhm.
I've seen cars out there, and you know, I've gone down there, and you know, it creates quite an argument with them. They think that they can be down there, and I quite sternly tell them, no, you can't. This is
can
you're
we put up
gonna
an
you're gonna.
unofficial sign that says, instead of like no motorized vehicles, we just say ADA compliance only?
I think that's what it says.
Okay.
That's what we
Oh,
said.
okay, okay. And if it
That's
says
what I mean. I'll go down there and
We
check.
have to
I
look,
thought,
yeah.
I thought that's what
that if I tell someone you're not supposed
We-
to be here,
Yeah.
correct.
then I have
That's
something to back me
No,
up.
no, I believe that's what the new signage said because new signage went up for that. And I'll maybe I'll go down.
We'll
and
have to
check.
look, yeah.
But that was specifically what we wanted to say was only, you know, ADA mobility,
And
you
appealing by
know,
saying, please.
registered
reach out.
equipment, you know, something
Yeah.
along
Right,
that line. Don't
right.
give me the exact thing,
Right.
but that's what was
And I have
put
no
up.
problem with that. I do, and I have no problem with golf carts.
Yeah.
I just, you know, they should not be on a place where people are using it to walk and
So-
for their exercise.
So, and I'll agree with Sarah, is these are two different groups of people. The people who are mobility challenged wanting to do the playground equipment aren't the people out there. I mean, that's a green space
Right,
place.
right.
And we need to be conscious that we're not, just having one or the other. It's one and the other. And that means certain access of golf carts should not be where there's green space. Right?
This
So-
is what I hate to say I've now started carrying when I'm riding my bicycle because of golf carts
Oh,
and
really?
people. This is a whistle.
Yeah.
I learned that in Puerto Rico, riding around, doing one of the bike rides around Puerto Rico. They all the cyclists carry a whistle, and it's to warn vehicles.
That's what they do in Amsterdam too, or their bells,
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then this one, because I'm getting
But I mean,
paranoid.
We said on council, but it's that's why we're very limited as to what roads actually have ADA. It's just that, again, this is now a golf cart community, and there are a lot of golf carts in this, and everything I've seen is it's not getting fewer, it's getting more.
Yeah, it is,
So-
but that's why I want to say
Correct, I
some of
agree.
our sidewalks.
Very, very good question.
And that is the sidewalk that I go on. I don't care about right there by the baseball field.
That's-
I
yeah.
understand that.
Mhm.
Although I think the graphics are wrong because the pedestrians should be walking toward the motorized vehicle, but that's my own little pet peeve.
Actually, what we did was we said for, I think this is on the signage too, is that it's unidirectional. So if you come in, you only come in one way and go out one way. It's not multiple traffic. this
I
way.
understand that, but I just.
Correct. No, I'm
I
just saying is
think
that's what we're trying to make
pedestrians
sure.
should be pointed
Yeah.
toward the motorized vehicles.
So, yeah,
Because so many people in this neighborhood walk on the wrong side of the street.
that's true.
And I think in order, if you're not consistent, then they get confused.
There is an officer that will come up and
Good.
give you a warning
Good.
that you're on the wrong
I'm
side,
glad.
and they all know that.
Yeah, it is. There's one in particular.
Yes,
Good.
and he did that to my way back when, my son's girlfriend, who was coming out of the park about to turn up Martinique, and was apparently not on the right side of the road to properly walk it.
Okay.
That's the
It's-
first time I ever heard
It's
that.
11:30. Anything else? Any other?
Is that witching hour?
Well, just usually we say it's an
So
hour.
are we
so
not
we're
gonna,
an hour.
we're not gonna let the Parks and Recreation Committee put golf carts over there by the creek on the
No.
sidewalk?
No, that we would have to expand it, because one of the things we said we would not do is put pedestrians harm's way. That the only way we would allow golf carts is if it's in an expanded road. And there is no plans to expand the roads in the park other than what's already built.
Where are you talking about?
Right after the baseball field. No,
Yes, right up by the water.
Okay.
It's it's what I call, you can go, what I know people enjoy, they go right up on the perimeter of the park, which means you go right up by the creek. It comes around there and it ties up all along there to what is it? Reflections Gardens that the Garden Club does right there, and then you can go all the way up to the peninsula,
Peninsula.
right?
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
and
Yeah.
the only golf cart path is the one that goes from that circle by there and circles around to where it goes by the
Pickleball.
pickleball
Yep.
court
And
and
you
the
come right out.
basketball court, because there's concrete right through there. There's a circle there that's
Yep.
pretty wide too.
It comes right out by the restroom.
Correct.
That's it.
Well,
that's
thank you. Because I kind of did say something to the guy.
Yeah. No, I purposely, if I see a car over there in particular, I
I've
go
never
because
seen a car.
because
over there.
Oh, yeah.
because those paths are not meant for a 2,000-pound car. It'll tear it up. It'll absolutely break that. And I'm like, get off my sidewalks. Those are paths. Those are walking paths. Those are not
Well,
car
I
paths.
appreciate that information.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I try
It
not to
creates
yell at
a
people.
fight because people
And
like
it-
they don't
and
want to
it
hear it.
is, you
They're
know,
usually not people from our city.
Yeah, I have had.
Exactly.
It's usually from cars. That's what it's usually
Yeah, I
about.
had it out with someone because some men were urinating right there
Ugh.
beside the path,
Mhm.
and they weren't from here.
That's correct.
But it's something that they should have a little more respect
Yeah,
for
You-
the
you would
absolutely.
think.
community than
You would
that.
think.
Because we all walk by there, and it's
Yeah.
not something you want to have to confront.
Many years ago, when we had first built our house out there, it was late at night, and because of the water and being up in an elevation, you could hear what was going on, and down in the park, which is now a parking lot, you could hear a radio blaring at 2:00 in the morning. And I went to the police department and I said, "Can somebody please please do something. They said, no,
Put a gate up.
the park was built with federal funds. We can't limit who goes in there. I said, then appeal to the citizens of
So-
Nassau Bay to say this is.
So that's not true. It was done
Okay.
with county funds. It
Okay,
was done with county funds because, and they were a cost sharing. It means the ability for us to restrict that from other people is a higher standard. Doesn't mean we can't, just can't be unreasonable. I mean, there's been talks around, having a pass that you have to get, per year of like $150 or something like that, or things. We've strayed away from it. I mean, this is gone back and forth for a while.
Sorry to
But
bring
we have the ability to close that part.
I saw the gate.
And then
Yeah.
we put up a gate, particularly because of that feedback, is that a lot of times they have vehicles that go back there. It's the people on bicycles who are part of our city, and usually they're more respectful.
Yeah.
But if there's a vehicle, they'll get trapped back there. And that's
People have camped out. I
Yeah.
found some people camping out back there
Yeah.
behind the dog park.
that's one of the things I want to tell you. We've got some homeless people camping out at the Star Stop. I don't know if you've seen that. But there's people that'll camp out. If they're not
I'm
careful.
kind of possessive about our parks.
Me
I'm
too.
sorry. I don't.
What's
They're
the
not-
Star
think-
Stop?
It's
over.
the gas station as you come in from the bypass
It
and
was the
stuff.
Buc-ee's.
The old Buc-ee's.
Behind me?
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I thank you for protecting my sidewalk.
No, a lot. As you can tell, this is not the first time this discussion.
I figured
Right.
it had. I knew
You
it
know.
had. I know there's. And like I said, I love golf carts. I do. They're fun. I play golf and I love them. But I do think that if you use them too much, you discourage a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah,
I guess
I
that's
think-
a good way
yeah.
to put it.
It's balance. There's balance.
Yeah.
I mean,
One more thing that I know has probably been brought up at council, brought up for years. Whatever happened after we had that town kind of vote on parking on the street?
I believe the law is there is not allowed to have continuous parking
It's still 3 days.
2 days, 48 hours. Now, I think it got reduced to 2 days. All I know is that's come up. I've had somebody else,
Someone brought it up on Facebook.
you saw I chimed in on that.
And I know
It's
that
against the
there's-
law to be more than 48 hours contiguous.
There's a lot of issues, and a lot of people have 1-lane driveways because of when the community was built. Well, we widened ours to 2 so that we could get it, because where we
Yeah.
come from, you don't.
The,
have-
the other thing too is not all our roads are for 4 cars. too.
Well, there's one in particular at the corner of San Sebastian and Point Lookout.
Yeah.
That as it widens, it's fine,
Yeah,
but where it narrows,
yeah.
the problems it is causing with people trying to come down that intersection, and the individual is parked on the street very close to the
Yeah.
stop sign, move back a little bit. It also makes me wonder, why is that vehicle at someone's house all the time?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why are they
Right.
not commuting in their own vehicle? But that's a whole different story. But it's so narrow that I have watched.
You mean right there at San Sebastian, pointing north as you come in?
Yeah.
But he moves that out regularly.
He does,
He
but
does.
it can.
But I
be-
know what you're meaning. It's
Right, so
it's-
when you're coming into that section and you've got people coming
Correct.
this way and they're having to pull,
and that's one of the
a
main
kid's gonna get
entrances.
killed one of these
Yeah.
days from the amount of
Yeah.
traffic. But one of the things I even noticed one day, and our street has got a curve when you first go down Davon, and there's 2 vehicles that park
Mhm.
opposite each other, not even staggering them. I had to watch the Ameriways back down the street one day
Yeah.
because they
Are you-
couldn't get through.
I also believe for an RV, it's 24 hours, right?
I believe so.
I think it's 24 hours. So
RVs.
that was because a lot of people had where people visiting in RVs would park out on the street in front, and now there's
And I don't see
restrictions
as
there.
much as, I don't see that
And
as
3
much.
days was reduced to 2 days. So
But just being mindful of neighbors, and I know that there's different countries that you live
Yeah.
in. Britain is 1 month you're here, the other month, the odd month, you're over on this side of the street. I don't want somebody parking in front of my house.
yeah,
And maybe they would think twice about it if they had to park in their driveway. But it was just something to
Yeah,
be
fair
mindful of,
It
especially
is.
parking side
But
by
that's-
side.
that's what the law is now. And it was tightened, but you still have 48 hours that you can park continuously out on the street.
Okay.
I will go on my.
The more
merry
things
way.
change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, we go back and forth.
Well, we're lucky enough to have multiple cars in our houses
Yeah.
these days, which they
True.
didn't